The Aldis podcast is brought to you by Aldis International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
Hello everybody, it's Mark Kelly and I hope you're doing really well. I'm the Chief Customer Officer and all this and a part of our ServiceNow podcast series. I'm very happy to welcome Ron Gidron. Ron is co-founder and CEO of Xtype. Ron, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Great, thank you for having me, Mark.
Ron, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did Xtype come about?
Yeah, so I'm Israeli born and raised, grew up in startup nation and started my career in the mid-90s. I worked for a small testing company called Mercury Interactive that became a very big success. And I spent 10 years in test automation and another 10 years after that in different various monitoring software. And about 10 years ago, I got into DevOps and automation. So I've been in the IT space for a very long time, have run into ServiceNow probably for the first time in 2010 and always knew I'm going to do something in the space. When the opportunity came about, we just ran for it.
Fantastic location to be in because it is that kind of startups. It's just in the blood within Israel. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there's a statistic to say that there's probably more startups in Israel than anywhere else that I can actually imagine, and very successful ones as well. So working within that kind of ecosystem and being involved in a very successful company from a very early stage must have given you confidence.
Yeah, it's true. So statistically, Israel is the second largest VC hub after the Silicon Valley, which is quite amazing. So it's bigger than New York. It's bigger than Hamburg or London or anything. It has a lot to do with Israeli mentality of not being afraid of failure and just going for it and doing stuff. And so yeah, it's part of the culture. I'm also a fanatic Tel Aviv fan, and Tel Aviv is the center of all this. So I guess it was inevitable.
And Ron, if we get started with Xtype, tell us a little bit about what the company does and the problems that you're looking to help solve.
Yeah, so Xtype is a platform engineering product for ServiceNow. And the problem that we help customers and ServiceNow solve is how to scale efficiently with development and operations on the platform. So we allow customers to eliminate a problem that we'll talk about later, which is instance inconsistencies. And by doing that, we allow customers to move much faster and much more efficiently with their ServiceNow innovation.
Can you explain further on how these environments inconsistency come about and what are the common types and what typically actually causes them? And if you wouldn't even mind just explaining inconsistencies for people having to come across this term.
Sure. So an inconsistency is a difference between one ServiceNow environment or instance. Those terms are interchangeable. So say you have a development instance and you have a QA instance and a production instance, and the configuration or the states that they're in are different. They're inconsistent with each other. And those and obviously they don't start that way because all ServiceNow instances are born equal if you're on the same patch level and release when you've started them. So these inconsistencies or differences, they literally creep up during development and testing times. So ServiceNow development teams work on new applications and features on the platform, and ServiceNow makes it super easy to capture your work in an update set or a scoped app, and then you can move it very quickly to another environment. But ServiceNow doesn't handle the synchronization of these changes or tracking them across those environments. And you can understand how, as you grow with the platform, as you add in more developers, more instances, this can become a problem that is bigger. Our research has shown once you've hit 4 instances, which is very quickly, you already need to start handling inconsistencies.
So we're going to go into a little bit more detail because there's probably going to be people listening in, probably want to ask some additional questions, and hopefully this is what's on their mind. So first you said that they lose track. Don't ServiceNow companies track their changes in tools like Jira or even spreadsheets? And then secondly, what do you mean by synchronization?
Okay, so let me talk to tracking first because you're absolutely right. organizations do track. And by the way, some of them track in ServiceNow. ServiceNow's got the Agile 2.0 module that allows them to track units of work, or Jira. Those are planning tools. They're human assignment, and you can always use Excel, right? I mean, you could literally fly people across the world with it if you wanted. So they do track, but what they're tracking is what is planned and what people report. They're not tracking the actual state, the actual units of work, the update sets, or the custom apps and plugins and all those technical components. They don't track those across their instances. So as I mentioned, and so it's very up to people to always update. And of course, people aren't automated, so stuff will get moved and things will happen out of process. And some stuff is emergency. Not everything is captured in human planning. So that's where we track the actual code. Now, when it comes to synchronization that you asked about, so in a multi-instance environment where you've got federated development, if you move a change from one environment into, let's say, a QA environment, and that change isn't automatically synchronized to other environments, then again, those inconsistencies start building up, and the results of that later will cause all sorts of havoc that eventually will lead you into cloning and other stuff that we'll talk about.
Thank you for that clarification. So, but can companies just use cloning to normalize or standardize the change process, across the landscape?
Yeah, so they can and they do, but cloning is both a very time-intensive and destructive way to address these inconsistencies. So it isn't bad per se to be cloning at all. It's sometimes a necessary process, specifically with data. But what I am saying is that there is a much more efficient way to solve these inconsistencies, and that cloning was never intended to be the mechanism to address that. So the clone process itself can take up to 20 hours to complete, but that's not even the whole story. A clone wipes out all of the work in process. So ServiceNow teams, the professionals, they spend a lot of time planning exports prior to cloning, and they spend a lot of time after cloning to recommit their works. So, Xtype customers tell us that a single person can spend as much as 3 working days preparing for a new clone for new development, and Xtype virtually eliminates this. So with Xtype, you perform your imports on one instance, and we will sync those changes across all the others. Our customers report 85 or sometimes more reduction in the amount of time and effort that it gets them to get a new instance ready for development.
So if I put this all together, just bear with me here. So I just want to try to get it all together. So you're saying that Xtype can fix, correct, or help everything you just mentioned, right? And I mean, if everything you mentioned are symptoms of environmental inconsistencies, Xtype addresses the environment inconsistencies, then Xtype impacts, improves, or addresses everything you mentioned.
So the short answer is yes. We fix. That's what we built Xtype to do. But what this means for customers to avoid these symptoms is far-reaching. So number one, on the business level, it means that your backlog will start shrinking rather than continuously growing. It means you can get a lot more done on the platform in a shorter amount of time. From a technical perspective, it means you are going to eliminate a lot of errors and very manual and error-prone and tedious processes of our works and releases. And on top of this, you'll get a much more compliant and robust environment to work with. So it literally allows you to utilize ServiceNow at any scale and meet any level of demand.
So Ron, how do people find out a little bit more about this, start to go on this journey to start to utilize the Xtype product?
Yeah, so we are ServiceNow. So you go to the store, you go to the ServiceNow App Store, and you search for Xtype or Xtype View. You'll find the Xtype View app on the store. It's a completely free app that will allow you to see the inconsistencies in your environment and start to deal with them. Of course, you can come to our website, book a demo of the full product, register with us and have a conversation.
Amazing. So people could take
I'm sorry, just saying the first place is go to the store and download Xtype View for free and enjoy it.
Brilliant. So people can take action straight away.
Absolutely.
Ron Gidron, co-founder, CEO of Xtype. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Aldous Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.aldous.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.